we researched when we were starting The Good Life Abroad. I put something on my own personal Facebook. I just said, anyone else out there want to live abroad for a number of months? Not as a full expat, but has never done it. Like, who's interested in it? And it was like hundreds of people. I mean, we're all kind of hitting the same age and thinking about the same things. So many people have wanted to do this, but there's so many things to think about if you're going to do it on your own.
Hello, and welcome to Not Born Yesterday, a podcast dedicated to older adults and the challenges and joys of aging. I'm Miriam Goodman. Not Born Yesterday examines the problems and solutions of growing older today. We bring you the wisdom and voices of experts in the field of aging and offer tips on how to feel your best, use your lifetime skills and experience, and make the coming months and years as fulfilling as possible.
I'm Lynn Winter-Gross. Not Born Yesterday is brought to you by Next Village San Francisco, a local nonprofit providing older adults with support to help age in place, and by Assisted Living Locators, a San Francisco Bay Area advisory service helping families make informed decisions about senior care and living options.
Today on Not Born Yesterday, we're looking at one of the most popular things people do after retirement, travel. While many older adults have been taking vacations for years, travel in retirement can be a way to find meaning, purpose, and a new identity. But how to make a trip in our later years meaningful and transformative may be difficult to imagine.
Enter The Good Life Abroad. This company offers immersive experiences for active seniors 55 and older by providing the opportunity to stay in one place for a month or two and engage in the local community and culture. Created by our guest, travel expert Andrew Motowala, The Good Life Abroad offers a new way to enhance personal travel. Andrew, welcome to Not Born Yesterday.
Hi, thanks for having me.
What inspired you to create this company?
I think a mix of two things. One, personal sort of interest. I thought when I retire, I love living in California. I don't want to leave it permanently, but I would like to be able to spend a few months abroad every year and have an apartment and, not just a hotel, and have things to do and maybe some friends, some community, people to hang out with. And the second part of it was just watching my parents when they moved into a 55 plus community. They went from always griping about why don't they see the grandkids or see me more often, and they were kind of bored and lonely. And now their schedule's full. There are lots of things to do, and seeing the power of community and what that did for them, because they had moved from their hometown to be closer to the grandkids, right? And they didn't know people in the new city. So I thought these two ideas, there's something to it.
Well, what's the difference between vacation travel and meaningful travel?
Well, I think vacation travel can be meaningful. So I'd like to slightly redefine it to be maybe more immersive travel versus more cursory or kind of skimming across the surface travel. And I think there's a time and a place for both. Sometimes you have a limited amount of time and you just want to kind of see the sights. But if as you get older, you have more time and maybe you've already seen the sights, the top 5 things to see in Barcelona. You've seen the Eiffel Tower. But now you realize you have the time to take away a different experience from that city. It's not seeing those top 5 sites. It's actually living the life that the people have there and having a different rhythm of life. Perhaps actually slowing down the way you travel instead of just trying to pack in as much as you can because you only have, 10 days to see all of Italy. And so you realize I can now immerse myself and actually connect with the people there. And the connection can take on many different forms. But that's a totally different experience. And I think it's very rewarding. And I think also as we get older, sometimes people feel like the world is getting smaller. But when you can do something like living abroad for a month or two, and maybe there's some support there, like with the Good Life Abroad, or maybe you do it on your own. You realize, wow, I can do this. It gives you confidence. And if I can do it here, maybe I can do it in another place. And hopefully the world actually opens up to you and the world becomes bigger in retirement rather than smaller.
So what happens psychologically to people when they step out of their familiar comfort zone?
Yeah, that's the gist of it, is that there's types of travel that coddle you and make you feel lots of pleasure. And that's great. Go to the Four Seasons. You will not feel uncomfortable. But when you do any sort of travel that's really immersive, those layers of protection are stripped away. And it's really you and the reality around you, which, if done right, should push you a little out of your comfort zone. And some people resist it, but we find that if you can kind of go with the flow and learn to adapt, you come away having grown a little bit and learned something, not just about the community you're in, but also about yourself. And that process of personal growth, I think, is, something you've talked about on this podcast around continuing to learn new things. Not just learn, though, it's also to adapt to new things. And how do you face challenges as we age? And I think one of the most important tools for facing challenges, because let's admit it, we're all going to face more and more challenges as we go through life, is how can you reframe these things? Like, oh, why are these people in Spain walking home from dinner at 11 o'clock at night? Well, no, how cool that I'm here. Now, I have a choice. I can continue to go to dinner at 5:30 p.m. or I can try to, maybe I'll take the siesta like they do, which will allow me to stay up later, and I can be part of this unique culture. So it's sort of how each person approaches those challenges.
I just took a trip, and there were 20 other people in the group, and I never heard anybody talking about what they used to do. Nobody said, well, what were you in your prior life, before you retired? Because most of the people in the group were retired. And I thought, when you retire, you give up your identity because you were a lawyer, or you were an architect, or whatever it was. When you meet new people, you're not that anymore. So do you find that your clients are open to the challenge of sort of creating a new identity for themselves?
I think that's one of the most beautiful things that comes out of this program. And it's something people don't expect. They come on our program because they want to see this destination, but it's a month and it's not normal. Most people don't go in one place for a month. But what they find at the end of that month is that they found their tribe. They found other people who share a core value. And that core value is a deep appreciation for other cultures. And they know to have that deep appreciation, you have to do immersion. So they're kind of the odd bird often within their friend group back home, because they're the ones who go for long periods of time and don't seem to miss America when they're traveling and just kind of go with it. Very adventurous folks. And now, like you said, they're not the accountant. They're not the parent at the PTA, the school. They may not even be the guy who lives on the corner because they may have downsized and moved to another neighborhood. But they've now found this group of people. And our whole program is about fostering a sense of community and connection between people. They found their tribe. And I can't tell you how many people stay in touch, go visit each other, come back and do another program with us. Our repeat rate is so high.
So most of us think travel is, hey, I'm going to see the Eiffel Tower today, or I'm going to the Colosseum. So how is this kind of travel different when you're spending a month there and you've already seen the Colosseum or the Eiffel Tower?
Yeah, I call it, there's checklist travel, which is the Eiffel Tower and the Colosseum. And that's great. Nothing wrong with that. But if you crave something more, and especially I think our travelers, they've been there, they've seen all the major sites. But what they really crave is living a different lifestyle and fully becoming part of that community. Now, some people say, well, I don't get it. Like, what am I going to do for a month? And I say, well, what do you do back in Columbus, Ohio for a month? And and they tell me about their lives. Yeah, well, that's what you do there. You go to the grocery store. Now, we're not going to Costco and loading up the SUV. In fact, when you're going to the supermarket probably every 2 to 3 days to buy some fresh produce, your refrigerator is going to be a little smaller. You're going to cook your meals. You go to yoga or Pilates. You can go to yoga and Pilates in Europe. And it's cool because you go a few times, people start to wonder, oh, who are you? And you strike up conversations. Just living your life in another place is a unique experience, right? Doing the same thing in a different cultural context. And of course, you'll still see the sites, but you might see more of the sites than just the big five. You'll go further and deeper based on whatever your passion is. And that's kind of what the program is geared to do, to help you find the things that you're personally interested in, whether you're an art lover, a history lover, or a music lover.
So Good Life Abroad is not quite just like renting an apartment for a month and then figuring out all these things out yourself without support. So what kind of support do you give these people so that they do have these more meaningful experiences?
So we vet the apartment, and then you have your community of fellow travelers who are living either in the same building or in the exact same neighborhood, so you're a few minutes away from each other. And then we have our local community manager. This is a local person who lives there and organizes activities and events throughout the month that are touch points for the community to come together. We start with an orientation, of course, how to ride public transit. Often we'll give you a transit card, right? So you get your first couple rides and learn how the system works, where to buy groceries, housewares. And then that night we have a big welcome party so you get to know the other people. But then it's still an independent experience. We're not filling your day every day with a bunch of things. It's just these lunches, happy hours, cooking classes, maybe an art workshop, and then suggestions for other things happening in town. So that local community manager is providing a menu of things to do to keep you busy, and then also meets with each person one-on-one to say, what do you want to get out of your month? And let's make a plan. I can help you. And if I know that you're an art lover, when I see something happening within the arts in my community, I'm going to suggest that to you. Things that locals might know about and maybe tourists wouldn't find that just passing through. And that community manager is also there available by text message. They're like your local friend who lives there that you can just text questions to or give a call. And of course, God forbid, if there was a real emergency, you can call them anytime, day or night. They're there for you. And then the last layer kind of support is we provide travel medical insurance and evacuation insurance. And we have always these safety plans in place so that if something, God forbid, happens to you, we're not trying to figure it out in that moment. We know exactly what to do, where to go to find English-speaking medical care, that's appropriate for the level of severity of the issue.
We're not talking about younger people or midlife people. We're talking about people over 60. So what are their special needs?
Our program is 55 and older, but you're right. On average, the average age is about 67. Yeah, some of the special considerations, let's say. One, we look for walk-in showers and showers that have enough space. We've all had the experience in Europe where you get that little hotel room and you sit on the toilet and you bump your head on the sink and you can't turn around in the shower. No, we look to make sure these apartments have walk-in so you don't have to step up and over into a tub. Often in buildings in Europe, because they're old, don't have elevators. So we look for either ground floor or first floor apartment if the building doesn't have an elevator, or we look for buildings with elevators. And before you even go, right when you book, we reach out to one of our program coordinators and we do a welcome call and we get to know you. Like, what are any specific needs you have? Mobility, anything really. And we try to find the best solution for you. And then other things like mobility is a great example, right? If you do really have issues with mobility, our staff will direct you away from a place like Lisbon, which is called the City of Seven Hills for a reason. And it has these slippery rocks on the street. So if you have real mobility issues, we would direct you to a different city that's maybe flatter and doesn't have some of those things. Because, you asked about the medical, and yeah, the most common thing that happens is really just people rolling their ankle on the cobblestones. So we do ask people and kind of set the expectations. You should be able to walk at least 2 miles a day on uneven surfaces. And even though you're using public transportation, you still have to walk there and back.
So I'm still sort of puzzled on how the people in your group meet local residents. It's one thing to meet other Americans who are doing the same thing, but how do you get involved with local people?
This all comes down to what each person's interest is. So some people, they want to get deep into food or music, and then we can connect them with people who maybe things in cooking classes or meetups that are food related, or often there's events happening at the local university, and that's one of the key places we look at for things that are happening. So, oh, you're into history. Well, there's a lecture happening at the university. You should check this out. And you go. But the overarching thing is what we try to get all of our participants to engage in is creating routines and doing things like a local. And just like here, you make friends by doing things in your daily life. So like going to the same cafe every morning, going to the yoga studio or the Pilates studio. If you go there a few times, those repeated interactions are what spark up those relationships. We tell people you can't come here and just go into tourist mode. I mean, you can, but you'll burn out. If you're just going to 3 or 4 museums a day and trying to eat that Michelin star dinner every night, you're going to feel like you're going to explode. You have to slow it down, and you're going to miss the best part of this, which is connecting with the locals. And that connection, it has to come organically. So it comes through repeated interactions with people who have a shared interest. And that's our job to facilitate. Find out what your interest is, try to find out a way for you to engage in that activity in a repeated way.
What if I don't know the local language? How do I talk to the other people I'm meeting at the Pilates studio?
You'd be shocked at how widely spoken English is, especially with the younger crowd. And I think it's always great to learn some phrases of the local language. I think that's the first step. And then you kind of break the ice and they see you're making an attempt. Often their English will be better than yours. I also see, there was a lady in Paris just recently. Her joy was going and just struggling and with her very broken French, but she loved it. And that was her. She wanted to brush off that high school French from 50 years ago. But there was some of it still there. And she never would go into English mode, even though the locals would eventually go into English. She said, no, I'm trying to learn. And for her, that was a great thing. I love that.
So how much does your program cost for a month or 2 months? And what do you get for that?
So wide ranging, as you can imagine, a city like Split, Croatia would be a lot less expensive than London, England. But let's just say on average, about $5,500 if I was to go by myself, and I would get my apartment for the month. I would get my orientation, my welcome party, and then we have about 3 activities a week. And these activities are really nice. I mean, think of it as a happy hour where you're making your own vermouth concoction and sampling different Spanish vermouths, from a cooking class where you're making French pastries with a real pastry chef. We have our Tuesday lunch club, one of our traditions, where our community managers pick really out of the way places to take our travelers to have lunch, to learn about the food, to learn about the culture through the food, and also to connect with each other. That's all through the month. The support of your community manager, all the text messaging, the meetings, etc., farewell party, the insurance, all of that would be for about $5,500 on a kind of a standard mid-level city. Obviously, Paris and London, etc., are a lot more expensive, I would say.
And do you welcome solo travelers?
Yes, about a third of our travelers are solo travelers. And as you can imagine, since community is a big feature of what we do, they love the fact they can go and have this built-in community, even if they're traveling alone, and they can be as social or as not social as they want. And again, because it's community focused, the groups are very inclusive. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are, solo, couple, gay, straight, black, white, whatever. I mean, it is all about community. That's the mindset of our people going into this. So it's very welcoming. Now, that said, we have some sessions that we've reserved exclusively for solo travelers. And we call that the solo traveler sessions because we can't guarantee that there will be solo travelers in every single session. Although on average, it's about 30%, but it varies from group to group. So we have some sessions that are solo travelers only. In those sessions, people all live in the same building. So it's really convenient if you're going out at night, you're going for whatever, you're going to walk home to the same place. You can have someone to walk home with, and it's all solo travelers. And often for those groups, what we try to do is find buildings that have also studio apartments, because solo travelers are often paying like a single supplement. It's one person say, I don't need as much space. I'm happy to save some money. Now, that said, some people, solo travelers, don't care about the money. They say, look, I want a 2-bedroom apartment. I want to spread out. And that's fine too.
We've been talking as if all retirees want to travel, but some are nervous about it. What are some of the problems that people are worrying about?
Well, that's one of the things that we researched when we were starting The Good Life Abroad. Is I put something on my own personal Facebook. I just said, anyone else out there want to live abroad for a number of months, not as a full expat, but has never done it. Like, who's interested in it? And hundreds of people, we're all kind of hitting the same age and thinking about the same things. So I made a little survey, and I said, okay, survey, you want to do this, but you haven't. Why? And I listed like a bunch of different things, and I left some blanks where they could type in whatever. And then I collated all that information. And it's amazing. So many people have wanted to do this, but there's so many things to think about if you're going to do it on your own. What happens if I get hurt? What if I'm in an apartment traveling solo and I fall and I can't get up and there's nobody knows I'm there? That's scary. What, I don't know the language. What if I pick the wrong neighborhood? I'm in some dangerous neighborhood just because the Airbnb photos look pretty. All these things. And so that's what I want to tell people who haven't done this, but have a desire or curiosity, is The Good Life Abroad is like the bridge in between like a full service tour and just doing it on your own. It's sort of like a light level of support, and we got your back. There's someone there. And again, you make of the experience whatever you want. We have some people who just want to sit in a cafe and read a book and watch the world go by, and that is okay. You don't have to be super adventurous. And we have other people who are, hopping on buses and trains and going off into the, nearby villages. And we have some pickleball fans that will always find pickleball no matter where they go. I mean, so it's choose your own adventure, but your adventure can be as adventurous or as, gentle as you wish.
So you talked earlier about you should be able to walk 2 miles on uneven surfaces. Are there any other physical requirements for your group?
We also say you should be able to walk up at least 2 flights of stairs, because even though our buildings, we try to, with the apartments, but many buildings, if you're just going into places, have stairs. So it's sometimes unavoidable that you'll hit stairs. Or then we set the expectation there might be some things in places you won't be able to go to because not everything is ADA accessible in Europe. And that's just the sad truth.
Do some people say, and I think you've talked about this a little bit, like, I'm bored. I'm going to get on a train and go to another city. I'm not used to being in one city the whole time. I got to go. Does that happen?
I'd say about a third of our people, they use our program as a home base, and on the weekends they go. And I mean, I understand it as well. Europe is so easy to get around. The rail connections are wonderful. If you're in Florence, why not go to Pisa or Lucca or Siena or even Venice? It's not far away if you have the time. And I see a lot of it travelers from the West Coast. If I'm going to fly all the way to Europe, right, we're tacking on 5 more hours than the people on the East Coast. I'm going to go and explore as much as possible.
So I'm sure there's some listeners out there that realize that what you're saying sounds wonderful, but there's this mindset that they need to change to be open to something like this. Do you have advice on how they can change that mindset so they really are open to this kind of travel?
Well, first of all, I will say it's not for everyone. I'm not thinking we should push this on everyone. My parents, I love my parents. My parents do not get what I do. They are tour people to the end. They want to see the things, they want to move on, and they want to get back to their bed and their home as quickly as possible. That's totally fine. It's not for everyone. But if you have that curiosity, I would say, one thing is we do have 2-week programs as well. It's a way to kind of dip your toe into it. It's not most of what we do. It's a small thing. We call them short stays. We created them actually because so many people were spending a month in one place in a country and then wanting to see another city for a few weeks. So a month in Lisbon with maybe 2 weeks in Porto, or a month in Paris and 2 weeks in Nice. So that's where that came from. But you can book a short stay on your own, just 2 weeks, and jump in. It's still a community. You still have that support. You could try it there. And in those programs, we stay in apart hotels, which are like a hotel with apartments. So a little more support than in our month-long programs where you're really in an apartment by yourself. In our month-long programs, you go in, we give you some starter rolls of toilet paper, some soap, roll of paper towel. But after that, you're going to the store and you're living on your own. And the 2-week programs, because it's shorter, it's a little more, it's a little easier, and it's really more like a hotel experience, but you do have an apartment. And that's a good way to ease yourself into this and try it out. I would say a month seems like a long time, but from thousands of people who have done our program, they'll tell you it flies by, because not just the events and activities we have planned, and not just because of all the wonderful things these cities offer and the connections you'll find yourself making with local people, but also just the community, these people who live around you. They're just doing spontaneous things that you would do here. Like, hey, who wants to have a potluck tonight? Make a dish, come over. Who wants to join my book club? We're going to read a novel that takes place in the city. And all these things, the community takes on a life of its own. And suddenly that month flies by, you leave with new friends, and you're like, wow, I need to do that again. And maybe for longer.
I think the community is an important part of it. Maybe we didn't stress enough, but that you're not there alone trying to figure out what to do for 30 days.
Yep. There's a great book out there called Joy Span, and I encourage people to check it out. But she really talks about the building joy, especially in the second half of life, is something that everyone can do. It is a practice things that you can do to increase joy. And one of those things is about community. And community amplifies joy. When you're having a good time, but you're sharing it with others, it's even bigger. And that's really what makes our program so beautiful, I think.
And very important for people in their later years.
Correct.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrew, for letting us know about your program, The Good Life Abroad. Our guest was Andrew Motowala.
Today on News You Can Use, we're doing something different. We all know people who need hearing aids or a cane as they age, but put it off because they think it will make them look old. So we want to share a short essay written by Ashton Applewhite, a well-known writer and speaker on ageism. We think you'll identify with her situation. She starts out by saying, I've started using a cane. Does that change how you see me? It's changed the way I see me. And to my surprise, I like this me better. I've done balance exercises for years, and I continue to. I'm perfectly steady on my pins, but seldom able to manage stairs without touching a wall or the railing I'm always next to. I can walk at a good clip, but have trouble towing a completely straight line without a hand on someone's elbow.
That's what the cane provides. My top priority was preventing a fall. Therefore, I reasoned absurdly I could hold off until the day I would otherwise have fallen. What was the real barrier? The long shadow cast by all those old persons with cane signs. Was I really ready to join their ranks? I was dismayed by my reluctance, but I understood where it came from. My internalized bias, self-directed ageism and ableism, from living in a world that celebrates youth and speed and frames their loss as a failure and betrayal. It was why I wasn't surprised when a much younger friend stuck to crutches after foot surgery. Crutches signal injured, not disabled. The stigma is so powerful that many older adults shun mobility aids, refusing to use walkers or wheelchairs even when it means never leaving home.
I figured using a cane would make me more cautious. It was the opposite. I used to tense up a bit if the path narrowed or the sidewalk grew crowded. Now I'm more relaxed, which in itself makes me safer. Ironically, fear of falling is a well-established risk factor for falls. That fear is rational, especially if, like me, you've taken quite a few tumbles. Whether or not I see myself as someone with a disability depends on the situation. Every time I head out with my cane, however, I look like one. I have indeed joined the ranks of the old people on the road signs, and I'm good with that. Will some people assume I'm less engaged or engaging than the better balanced? No doubt. That's their loss, not mine.
That's our podcast for today. Our thanks go to our guest, Andrew Motowala of The Good Life Abroad. You can learn more about Next Village San Francisco at their website, nextvillagesf.org, or call them at 415-888-2868. To learn more about assisted living locators, contact Senior Care Advisor Brent Hensley at 415-766-0361. Our theme music is from Hook Sounds, and Claire Winslow is our engineer. And we thank you for listening. We'd love to hear what you would like us to discover and discuss. Please contact us at notbornyesterdaypodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts or YouTube. All of these are free and let us know our audience better. Be well, stay strong, and remember, you weren't born yesterday. I'm Lynn Winter Gross.
And I'm Miriam Goodman.